Hi, I wish to talk about my article called The Medicalization of Current Educational Research and its effect on educational policy and school reforms today. The article starts with an observation, namely that we in education are trapped in a paradox situation. This paradox situation is that never before in history we have had so much educational research as we do have today. Never has so much money been put into research that is dedicated to education as today, on one hand, and at the same time we have never had so little room to actually do innovative educational politics. My question is, why is this so? This paradox is owed, and this is the general thesis of the paper, to something I called the medicalized research paradigm that is being favored by politics and that dominates educational research today to a large degree. This medicalized research paradigm, and that is the historical perspective I decided to reconstruct in this paper, is a child of the Cold War, having itself its root in the Second World War. Major elements of this medicalized language are notions like evidence-based, intervention research, and of course, monitoring. All these notions have been developed in the field of medical research, have then been translated into the field of social research, from which it came into the field of education research in the last 10 or 15 or maybe 20 years. In this historical reconstruction, I analyze an overall development of what I call the cult of expertise and its epistemological foundation in the laboratory work, that is, in the experiment, and its legitimation in the evidence brought about by statistics. Thereby, this overall development of the emergence of the castes of experts, which eventually would challenge the respect for both the professionals in the field and the democratic public, has undergone two major shifts in social research. The first shift is the emergence of the authority of a mechanistic worldview, following the logic of physics, for instance, followed by the authority of a biological or medical worldview that is dominant today. I analyzed this overall development in 5 steps, which are basically the chapters of the article. In the first step, I reconstruct the first shift in the research paradigm during and after the Second World War, labeling it as mechanization and linearization of the research, following the big success physics and chemistry had during the Second World War, winning the war. This logic was applied to the field of social research and then eventually also to education research. Now in the second step, I indicate some ruptures in this mechanized or linearized attempt around 1960, where we had some biological crises, and show in a third step how this led to a biologization or medicalization of the research paradigms in the course of the 1960s and the 1970s. Environmentalism would be a good notion to describe this shift. Now, in the next step, I analyze the relevant tools of this paradigms, the tools of research, again, statistics, in order to make evident how the research paradigm affected the current policy overall in society, but also in education. At the end, I reflect how this research paradigm has triggered so much money in education research, and at the same time, and that is the paradox I started with, at the same time we have the paradox that the options for actually doing education policy have diminished to a large degree, just precisely because the professionals and the democratic public are excluded by this cult of expertise. Thank you for being interested in this paper. Looking forward to having feedbacks. Thank you.